You clicked on the right video because you're about to see the best DIY valve cover replacement on an N54 engine. So let's get started. We're going to have to remove the wiring harness from the cowl, the cabin air filter assembly, and the cowl itself. To remove the wiring harness, you get a little screwdriver, stick it in right here, and that will pop it out. This one, you can choose to unsnap these clips right here. You can also, it's a little bit more involved, but you can also push down on the little thing inside there, and that'll pop the plastic housing out as well. You can do it either way. Remove the 6 8mm fasteners here, here, and there. And remove the cabin air filter assembly. On the left side of the engine, remove the wiring harness that's clipped in here. Set that aside. And remove this cover here by lifting up on either side of these clips, unhooking the rubber from right there. And then remove this 8mm fastener. On the right side, remove the wiring harness from the air quality sensor. It should be clipped in right here. You can pull that up, and then there's another clip right here. Same thing as the other side. Lift up on these tabs to remove the cover, and then remove the 8mm fastener. There are 2 more little rubber things clipped to the side of the cowl. Now you can lift the cowl up and out of here. To remove the engine cover, there are 4 5mm Allen bolts at either side. There's one hiding down over here. Now we can just lift this up and out. Now we need to remove this cross brace right here. It's an E14 over here. And there's a cover right here that you either have to pop off or turn to the side with a large screwdriver. And that covers an E18, which you don't have to remove all the way, you just have to loosen it. Now you can pull this right out. Sorry for the interruption, but we have to thank this week's sponsor, which is OEMBimmerparts.com. I love this website. They've got super fast 2-day shipping. They've got multiple warehouses all over the US so they can get your parts out to you as fast as possible. And I love their website. It's well categorized. There's not a lot of extra stuff. It's just all the most popular parts that you're gonna need, and they're the OEM brands. They do also have some quality aftermarket brands as well if that's what you're looking for. So if you are in the market for BMW parts of any kind, please check out OEMBimmerparts.com. Now, this wiring harness is kind of in the way. This one can be pushed back to there and it kind of gets mostly out of your way, but this one, it's a little difficult to do that. And it's mostly because of the alternator cable right here, or the power cable really. Yeah, it is the alternator cable. This is sort of, you know, it's kind of in your way. It helps if you can just remove it from right here. Then you can, you have a little more room to get this out of the way. So before we do that, we need to disconnect the battery, because otherwise if this touches a metal part of the engine, sparks. We can just pull this out. And the battery negative cable is right there. It's a 10. Just gotta loosen it a little bit and reach down and pull it up and out. So that's all I did. I pulled that thing away. Okay, now we can get this cover off. That just pulls off, and we can unbolt that bolt. So that looks like a 13. So now that's safe. So this is optional. I think we can probably figure out a way to put this up here like this and kind of keep it in place, but it looks easy enough to me to remove this cover and take these cables out, or at least take this one out, and then this can just kind of go over here, way out of my way. And it seems a little easier to keep this right there, and it can be mostly out of my way to do the work over here. We also need to remove the air snorkel and the air filter box, because we're going to need to remove the fuel rail, and there are some bolts right here and it's just kind of in the way. So these here are T20s, and we can remove this from there. So removing this guy, real easy. There are 6mm ring clamps right here. Loosen those up. There's one up here. This we can disconnect just by squeezing it on the side. That goes to the brake booster. So squeeze it on either side, that comes off. And then there are some wiring harnesses down here, which, ooh, Looks like I never reconnected from my last video, but let me show you where they go. Shame on me. So they're basically the three of them right down here, three little rubber pieces here. And if you're having trouble getting those off, you can spray them with some silicone spray. Silicone spray lubricates rubber pretty well, so you just kind of reach down and pull them off. Pull off those wiring harnesses. Then you can start pulling this thing up. Just wrench it, kind of pops down onto these little studs right here with just some rubber grommets here. Just pull. Now you can see some of those bolts that I was talking about here, here, another one here, and another one back over here. That's what's holding the fuel rail to the side of the head. And it's technically slightly in the way. Perhaps it could be left on there, but it's easy to just unbolt it and slide it right away. Here's the fun part. We actually have to loosen and remove these crossover pipes that go to the high pressure fuel injectors because they're obviously in our way. We got to remove them at both ends. It's a 14 millimeter, and it is best if you have a flare nut wrench. That's what it looks like. This is a Craftsman set. And you also need to make sure that the engine is cold when you do this. You don't want hot. You don't want the fuel spraying out when your engine's all hot. That's just a recipe for disaster. So you want to cover it with a towel, and it is going to spray a little bit. So get that on there like that and crack it. Actually wasn't very tight. Nothing's spraying on this one. That's very interesting. I did have this car running yesterday, a couple days ago. Maybe, very, very interesting. Wouldn't expect that. In the previous video I shot, I had depressurized the fuel system before doing compression and leak down tests. I had thought I ran the engine after that, but I guess not. That's why there was no pressure here when I loosened up the fuel lines. This is definitely the way to go when doing this job, especially if the engine is hot. To do it, you simply remove the fuel pump fuse and run the engine until it dies, then do it a second and third time until it won't start anymore. It looks like what I said is correct. The first five all have the same part number, and the rear one is a different one. So not a big deal if you do mess them up or mix them up. You can figure it out. We need to get this wiring harness off here. There are grounds that are bolted into these studs right here, 3 of them, and they are 8 mils. Now we have to unhook the wiring harness from each of the fuel injectors. And that's actually easy. All you have to do is pull backwards like this, and they'll come right out. Hook that backwards. Okay, those are all unplugged. The wiring harness is bolted to the valve cover with aluminum bolts. They are E10s, and this one was broken off for me by the previous guy who was in here. So I'm just gonna do this one. Looks like that wasn't very tight. So now this should just lift right off, and it looks like we got a harness in the back here that we gotta take care of. Let's figure that out. Okay, it's a little clip that's facing this way, so you gotta push the wiring harness out towards the back. That wiring harness is going to come up and around, and it's going to run to some sensors on the front of the engine here. This one is one of the oil sensors. Still haven't looked up whether that's oil pressure or temperature. This over here should be coolant temperature. So that's that one. And this one over here goes down to the vanos, which, let me get you a shot of that. So you can see these 2 little metal clips right here. So this one actually is the bottom one. So I'm going to push that clip in and pull the thing back, and then we can fish it out from there. Now that wiring harness is free to come away, and I can get it out. Here's what I'm going to do. Just going to unthread it here. Looks like it's clipped in. I will leave the clips for now and remove this. Well, yeah, we'll do that. So pull it out, pull it out. It's right there. Looks like there's another harness in the back that is the high pressure sensor, fuel sensor. So now we can remove this thing. Look at that. Yeah, I'm thinking I want to be able to pull this up and away. So it is also connected to the solenoids for the wastegates. So I'm gonna unclip those as well. So it looks like this wiring harness, it's got wires connected down to the front of the cylinder head right here. Some of them are connected to the upper Vano solenoid and then the two cam position sensors, but then there are two more that run further down on the engine. It's going to be very difficult to get to those. So I think instead what I will do is remove these harnesses from the box here. That'll just get this wiring harness out of the way. Now this, if you're just doing this and you're not filming, I don't think you really need to bother. You can sort of just zip tie this thing back and you can get to the bolts that you need to get to, and it's really no big deal. For me, I want to get these camera shots, so I'm just going to pull this thing out of here. I recall I have to unlock here, unlock there. I believe we flip these black guys up like that. Same thing over here. I think this one was already up and done. That comes out. You actually have to pull your engine computer up just a little bit to get it unplugged on the side here, so that connector will come off on the side. Oh, look at that. It's 2-in-1, isn't it? Wow, they just are not making it easy. Boy, that sucks. Okay, new plan. This is just gonna go right here. That's as much as I'm gonna do for you. We're gonna work around it because it's not easy to get it out. All right, so we could unbolt the fuel rail right here, and it should come back just a little bit. Problem is this line is kind of rigid and it's connected down to the high pressure fuel pump down below. I don't remember how much play there is in it. And if I unbolt this first, it'll be a little more difficult to remove this nut if I have to do that. So I think I'm just going to loosen it and remove it right now because it's no big deal. That's a 17, by the way. You know, I'll leave it like that. We might not need to remove it, but it's loose and I'll be able to remove it if I need to. If I recall, I think that those are 11s. Yeah, they're 11s. See, here's the limitation of this tool. It doesn't have a lot of torque. It has a lot of speed, but not torque. Let's switch over. See how much flex there is. You know, there's enough flex, I think. Actually, there's flex because I got this thing loose, really. That's what it is. So why don't we do that? Just continue taking it loose. There you go. Lay it aside. I would say, yeah, take it loose. All right, now we just have these hard vacuum lines, these hard pipes that go across the top of the thing right here. And they are connected down to this little tube right here. And you could disconnect them right up here, perhaps. You can disconnect them down over here. You can just pull them down off from the canisters, which maybe I'll do that. Because I've recently had them out of the canisters, and they should be somewhat loose for me. It might be more difficult to put them back in, but we'll cross that road when we come to it. So there we go, and you can just lay them aside. I could have also just as easily pulled them off of here, but I haven't had them off there. I would have had to spray some silicone spray there and work them with the pick. Easy to do it from that way too. So that should be almost all obstructions out of our way. There's actually one on the back. There's a hard plastic pipe that's crossing over for the PCV system. So this one I know is a bit of a struggle sometimes. So let's see, where do we want to take it out from? Now we could take it out from either side. Let's just see what's involved. Looks like we pinch here and there, so I'm gonna have to block you while I do this. We got it. So the issue is that you need to pull these sides out as well because they need to get past this little ledge right here. So I had to reach in and pull the sides up, and then in this case I pushed this side out. And then it's also clipped in at the top right here and down here. So I reached the pick in and just lift it up and then push down on the bottom. That got it out. So now that'll come out with the valve cover. All right, now we just have like a lot of E10 fasteners all around the perimeter. So all around the outside and then along the inside as well. And then there's going to be these 3 studs here, which you're going to need a deep 10 mil for. So this one, we could take this off just to make some room. I see a 10 millimeter right here. That is not correct. Yep, I think we know who did that. The last guy who was in here, which if you listen to the BMW service history, was the BMW guy. So shame on him, whoever he is. All right, everything else is gonna need some kind of a special tool, special setup. Here, let's get that 10 mil. Not even, not even bolted anything. So this can get to these bolts. Oh shoot, I just leaned over and popped something. What did I pop? Oh, I just popped this actually off. So, careful. I think I'm gonna take it off just in case I do that again with my clumsiness. Ha. So, that was either broken already or I broke it. Probably me. Not a big deal though. All right. Now, let's do a quick inspection. Make sure that we got every, oh, that's right, we have these 10s right here. Got to get those off. So we need our deep 10 millimeter socket to go on there. Ooh, look at that. That's not too good, is it? Now I hear that you can, no, that's not going to work on mine. My 10 mil is really not deep enough. I think not every 10 mil deep is made the same. Let me see what other ones I got. Check this out. I've got a Milwaukee 10 that is way deeper than my normal impact 10. Milwaukee to the rescue. Glad I have that. Oh, but it's, oh, that sucks. Oh my God. The stud is too thick for the opening in this socket. Can you believe that? Oh my God. Okay, I'm actually about to do some emergency surgery to my Milwaukee socket. It's kind of cool that it has those flats because that lets me clamp it in my soft jaws here. These are aluminum soft jaws for my vise. And that kind of retains it, keeps it from twisting and turning. So I got a good drill bit and it's the next size up. I'm gonna see if I can do this because this is hardened. I don't know if this is gonna work. I should have cutting fluid, right? Okay, it worked. Very cool. Let's see if that was good enough. Okay. Yep. Fits great now. Okay, where's the stupid extension? I just had it. Oh man. Man, everything grows legs and walks. Oh, there it is. Aha. Never mind. So this one should be able to come off now. Yay. What a pain. So there is obviously a special tool for these bolts, but I don't think anybody buys it, probably because their sockets are fine. Their deep is just fine for this, but yours might not be. All right, guys, that should be everything. Let's give this a couple of ginger pries. Yep, coming right off. This is not our first rodeo. This has been changed once before. I think once. It might have been twice. I actually don't remember. So let's pry up there. Pry up there. You do not, I mean, if it's not coming, don't give it the beans because that ain't gonna be good. You don't want to crack and break this thing. These things do get brittle with time and you can crack it fairly easily. Okay, my only concern at this point is that, well, number one, debris, which I know it looks dirty on the outside, but it doesn't look like there's anything that will fall in once I take this out of here. Number two, probably some of these bolts might not be fully unthreaded, so you try to pull and you're gonna have problems, which I am. So that's particularly why I wanted to get these out. So I might spend some time going around and pulling these out. Oh wait, did I get this one in the corner? That's what it is. I didn't get this one in the far corner. Probably. Let's do that. Yeah, see, I definitely didn't get that one because you need a special setup to get that. I have a swivel socket. There we go. A little E10 swivel that might give me just the right positioning. That's the ticket. That was it. Aha. Very nice. So now this comes out finally. There's my prize. Hey, easy. Actually, those cams look really good. The oil residue on them, really good. Very happy to see that. All right, let's get this little tube out there. That should have come out with the head. So it's actually been about a week since I worked on this video. I stopped and I began working on the next video because while you have the valve cover out, now's the time to actually take a look at the cam ledges, remove the cams from the car, inspect them. There's wear that happens on the front of the cam bearing ledges. I'm gonna get into all of that in next week's video. I don't wanna get into too many details right now, but if you're interested in that, you can click on the link below. Once this video has been out for a week, the next one will be released, and then I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. So if you're watching this at a later date, just check out the description because that's kind of an important thing. But anyway, let's get back to this video. I just want to let you guys know that the reason everything looks different is because I've pulled out the cams, I've refurbished them, I've got them cleaned, and I've reinstalled them. So that's why everything looks different. So guys, about this old gasket, this is the area where that bolt was missing. And when I take a look at the gasket, I can see that this corner was sort of pinched a little bit. And I mean, anyway, if you don't have the bolt in there, that the edge of this gasket is just going to collapse down and it's not really going to be pressing down on anything. So that's definitely the cause of the leak for sure. And that would have been leaking into the center right here, which is where we found the oil. I mean, this is a good gasket. It's a Victor Reins. I can see it printed right here and there's nothing wrong with it. It's still supple. I mean, it's like brand new, almost brand new. So I would actually reuse this thing, but I guess since I have another one, it's an L-ring, I'm just going to use that because why not? And I'll save this one though, just, I don't know, for the next N54 I work on, because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It was just improperly installed. So if you've never changed your gasket at all, or it's never been changed, you might find that this is really hard and crusty, and it might be really difficult to get out of the valve cover. So just be careful when you're doing that. You're gonna wanna pry it with a screwdriver and everything, but don't pry it this way because you will break off this plastic right here. The plastic does get kind of brittle with time. So just be careful when you're doing it. You wanna dig it out with the channel, you know, with maybe like a pick tool or something. So just be careful. All right, let's get our new gasket in. It's coated with some kind of a powder, I guess. A little strange, but whatever. So we want to make sure this thing's pressed in really well. We don't want it to fall when we flip the valve cover over. So I think perhaps I should have installed all of these bolts in before I put the gasket in, just because they go alongside the gasket right here. So it seems to me that it's a good idea to have them in there. That way you can just observe whether they are pinching the gasket or not. Because if you put them in afterwards, it looks like they're gonna cause a little pinch on the rubber, you know? If they're not, like, it just seems like they could pinch the rubber. So I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna spend some time putting all of these back in, and we'll come back. All right, so I do have these in. One of these keeps falling out. And, you know, this is a little tricky. I can see why the previous guy lost one of these. Because if you flip it upside down, the gasket wants to fall off. And if you flip it the other way, the bolts want to fall out. So this is just a tad tricky. You're going to be careful. Okay, so So we'll make sure somehow to try to see if the gasket has been, has fallen and is being pinched anywhere. You gotta just do your best. Try to feel around the sides. It is difficult to see in some places. I think that we are good. All right, guys, I have run all the bolts down, sort of finger tight. I'm about to torque them. I'm still missing one bolt. I had grabbed more bolts, but these are from an M52, and apparently the bolt diameter is different. They don't fit in on the M54, the N54. Sorry, and I'm really pissed because I was at a junkyard today and staring at a 335, and I just didn't grab the extra bolts because I thought I already had them, and I'm just, it's too late to go there today and all that stuff. So I'm just leaving the bolts out of here instead of in the back. That way it's just easier for me to get to. I will install it tomorrow and torque it down properly and everything. But anyway, everything should be ready to go, and all we need to do is just torque everything. So the torque on all of these is 8.5 Newton meters, and it says to tighten them all crosswise from inside to outside. So I assume that means like this, like that, and then you kind of just do, it probably means the inside here first and then the outside again crosswise. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll do the inside first and then go to the outside. So we just got to get these three. Guess I'll do that like this. Whoa. Okay, that is why we don't touch the positive terminal. Let me get the plastic cover on that. That was funny. Missed this one. This one too. All right, that is it. Everything's torqued, and I'm just missing this one. Again, I'll put that in tomorrow. So this thing can go back in, and then I have the spark plug tubes. You might have noticed that the spark plugs were not installed. When we started this, I had them out just to inspect. Incidentally, that's when I discovered that there definitely is fuel leaking on this rear fuel injector, but don't worry, we'll be taking care of that in a future video. So let's get these knocked down. Yeah, they definitely snap down with a click. And I think that this has to go here because, well, it can go on, actually, I don't think it matters. I take it back. Cool. Time for the coils. All right, let's get the fuel rail back in place. This nut fell down. Tricky. Might need a tool. That's right, those were 11s. I don't think you really have to remove this fuel rail. It just kind of helps to get it out of the way. I'm gonna say, yeah, remove it. All right, now we can put these on. If you recall, one was a little bit different than the others. That one, I believe, was this one. Let's clip these wires in here while we're here. Actually, the other wiring harness, I think, went in first, right? That's what it was. Let's stop and put that back in place. Oh, incidentally, this bolt that was stripped out right here, I did drill it out and get it out, so it's good to go. This should be for our high pressure sensor. That goes in first, along there, and slips in here. Yeah, that looks right. And these just went over and around. So that clipped in the front, clips in right there, and that's how that goes. We also have these, which were supposed to go in there first, weren't they? Let's undo that. It's a puzzle, you know. Oh, they might have gone underneath that fuel rail, actually. I think they did. Darn, they really did, didn't they? There you go. That'll get you. All right, you know what? I don't want to break them. I don't want to do anything like that. So let's get this off again. Hopefully there's enough room for this to pivot. It's going to suck if I have to remove this rail again. I think there's just enough room. Whew. Barely. So that's what not to do. Looks like these clip in here. they're really difficult to get in. Wow, very difficult to get in. Wonder why. All right, I'm gonna say it does not matter. So yeah, you can just put pressure with your thumb on this and that makes it easier to turn. So obviously that's where the pressure was all the time, is pulling this way a little bit. Maybe these slide down in. Oh yeah, that's what it is. They slide down in. Okay, so that's how that goes. Cool. All right, I'm gonna take a second, try to do a reach around, try to plug these hoses in to the vacuum canisters without having to take them out. I think I can. So I think I can get the short vacuum hose plugged into this canister, the one closest here. That's easy. Do I have the bottom of it? Oh yeah, that's what it is. There's little fins sticking down on either side. That's what makes it difficult. The far one, that's making it kind of difficult to get in. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, okay, that one's on there. That one's good. Cool, so that's possible. So we have a hose that goes back here. I don't remember if the hose went, if the wires went above or below the hose, but I'm gonna put them below the hose because it looks right. All right, now we're gonna finish getting these in. Let's tighten all these guys down. 14. Now these have never been super tight when I've checked them out in a junkyard, so I'm gonna follow that same practice. I'm not gonna go crazy. This back one's gonna be tricky, but doable. Okay, we're looking good. Let's get the wiring harness bolted down. Incidentally, anytime you see a fastener that has a blue head like this, that means it's an aluminum fastener and you're supposed to replace it. I think these are the ones that I'm just not going to replace, but that's obviously why the guy snapped this one off, is because, you know, he just forgot that they're aluminum or whatever, and you just shouldn't do that. Just remember, they're aluminum. Don't go crazy with them. All right, let's get these plugged back in and so we need to tighten things up in this area here. Get them back going again. This is live right here, so gotta be careful. I plugged the battery back in because I was doing other stuff in the last week, so that's good. This, we don't need that anymore. So dirty. I'm not that OCD that I need to clean inside there and stuff. I know others are, and I love you, but not me, not right now. This connector is still unplugged, and it shouldn't be. Cool. This one too. And I remember I did not unplug anything from this one, so those are all good. I think that's it, man. Just got to get the intake box back on, and we're good. We can start this thing up. Let's find those grommets. Right there. This time I won't forget about these grommets. Ooh, they are a bit of a pain. That goes there. That goes there. Cool. Last but not least, our fan goes back in. Stupid rubber thing, man. Ah, let go. Plug that in. Push that down. Push that down. Well, that was easy. Check it out, guys. I got the bolt as promised. Right, the air duct can go back in. I need to grab a new one of these air ducts because the threads on this one are stripped out. Next, the engine cover. Now this goes back in. The fork side goes that way. E14 here. E18 up here. No, I'm not really torquing those. Followed by our little cover. Now for the juggling act of getting this thing reinstalled, I happen to think it's easier just to pull this out first. So you can push the little tab in on that one and on this one. And this should, oh, it didn't pop out on me here. It went all crazy. There. So popping that out, it's just a little easier to get this in there. I might, on my old one was actually, these little tabs were cracked. I've been thinking about cracking those just because it would make it easier. So if your thing has these hooks on the back still, that sucks because it's harder to get this in. If it doesn't, it's easier. But it's supposed to have the hooks, so you're supposed to dig it down like that and get it on. And it's, of course, just much easier to do that when you don't have to wrestle with this thing back here. So then you can just put this on separately. In fact, it might be best to get this on first, just so you have more room. Click it in, and snap it in. And then snap these in, if somebody hasn't broken yours by now. Now we have 8 mils on either side. So we have these guys right here, and there's this little thing here that slides into this rubber grommet, and then this rubber grommet, of course, slides into this one. And then you just snap it down like that. Put the wire in. Snap the air quality sensor back on. Get this cover on. Finally, your cabin air filter assembly. That goes on. And that's just a bunch of 8mm again. That's it, we're all done. Well, that's a simple enough DIY. I'm eager to get this thing back on the road. If you enjoyed the video, please like. If you want to stroke my ego, you can hit subscribe. But honestly, I think what matters more for YouTube is if you watch my next video. That's what they're looking at. You know, if you're clicking on the videos and watching them, that's the most important thing. So if you want to help me out, that is what helps me out. I'm Jason, the 50s kid. Thanks a lot for watching.